Yay, we're live. We are live. Won't you come see about me? I'll be alone. Dancing, you know it will be me. Tell me your troubles and doubts. Something, everything, inside and nothing out. Don't you just try to pretend. I gotta close all these fucking windows. Where am I here? Excuse me. Won't you forget about me? Don't you forget about me. When you walk on by, will you call my name? Where's my fucking chat, yo? Hello, how are you? I'm trying to sign in to see the chat. I want to see the chat. What's up, yo? What's going on? Why can't I see the chat? Why can't I see the chat? It's not opening. Sign in to see the chat. Open in browser. God damn it. Don't you forget about me. Don't you. Hi, Sherry Berry. How are you? I'm glad to see you, sweetheart. We only have a couple of people, so, I'm just talking shit. I can see it now. Yes, I can see you now. I finally got the chat open. When you walk on by, will you call my name? When you walk on by, will you call my name? When you walk away. Hello. Hello. I guess I should. Is my camera tilted? Good to see you, sweetheart. Good to see you. Oh my goodness. There's so much fucking going on right now. Oh my god. It's insane. And all the astrology is sort of wacky too. Because we're about to have Mars conjunct Jupiter. And every time that happens, there's like some sort of explosion, Because Jupiter makes things bigger, doesn't he? Hey girl, finally just binged on your recent stuff. Thank you so much. It's good stuff. I've lost a lot of followers because I've been taking political stances on things because it's the right thing to do. And quite frankly, my life depends on some of it. But Mercury stations retrograde today. Has it already happened? Has it already happened? Has it already happened? Let's see. I have to check my little thing here. No, almost. How many more hours till Mercury retrograde is fully underway? Come on. Come on. Oh, there we go. So I have it at 11 my time. So in 12 hours. 12 hours! Hello, love bug blues. My little love bug. Yes, in my life. Well, yeah, all of our lives have been crazy, but the fucking backdrop. So, Alchemistic Strategist, what did you watch? Because I have a lot of interesting stuff. And I'd love to see your feedback. I've got about 10 videos that I have to make, but I keep getting sidetracked, if you will, by the transits going on. And I've been doing transit videos with horoscopes consistently. But people don't seem to fucking watch them unless it's Mercury retrograde or an eclipse or something like that. Otherwise, people don't watch it. Where Saturn retrograde did pretty good. My Jupiter retrograde video did pretty good. But no one cares about Venus. My mommy Venus going into Virgo. It's a big deal every time Venus changes signs, Sherry Berry says, have you heard of Starliner? Barry Butch on board was a neighbor and friend of a good friend of mine. Please pray for Starliner's crew of 2 to return safely. No, what's Starliner, sweetheart? I didn't even know. I haven't heard about that. I've been so focused on 2 things. The election in Palestine. Sorry, the election and Palestine. So, Mercury's been in the shadow period for a little bit, right? Couple weeks here. I usually think of the Mercury shadow period as 20 degrees leading up and 20 degrees leading out. You see? But a lot of people just say 2 fucking weeks. Whatever. I say like 20 degrees. But within that period, a lot has happened, right? We were having hostage negotiation talks, between Palestine and Israel. And one of the lead negotiator, or the lead negotiator on the Palestinian side, was a man named Ismail Haniyeh. And he was just assassinated in Iran. So we have a very volatile situation going on, and it's making me very concerned. But we can look at your charts and all that stuff, and we could do your horoscopes and all sorts of wonderful things, because a lot is going on. And when we do horoscopes or look at your particular chart, you see it will be particular to you and your rising sign. Because the planets that are transiting this house or that house or whatever for you, they rule other houses in your chart. And they give us a hint as to how these things sort of show up in our lives, right? It's very interesting stuff. And I've been quite focused, yes, on the Middle East, but also the Veep stakes, Who is gonna be the vice presidential nominee, right? And I'm not talking about couch fuckers like J.D. Vance. Sorry, I just had to go there. We know it's not true, but it's funny, It's hilarious. Oh, my eyes are watering. So anyway, Virgo rising. Sherry Berry says Starliner was built by Boeing. Oh my gosh. They sent 2 astronauts up, supposedly for a few short days. It's been over 55 days? Oh my God, that's awful. I had no clue that was going on. Jesus Christ, fucking Boeing. I'm not flying ever again. You see, this is what happens with deregulation. When corporations get their way, and they by and large fund, the 2 main political parties, when corporations get their way, all they do is cut corners. And this is terrible. And this is what cutting corners leads to. Just like the Ocean's Gate shit. What was that? Like a year and a half ago? When that submersible imploded because they're idiots. This is criminal negligence on behalf of Boeing. That's just, I had no clue, Sherry Berry. I had no clue. My eyes are watering because I have very dry, very dry skin and dry everything. Because I'm Mars combust. That means Mars conjunct the sun. Planets are combust when they're within, like 15 to 20 degrees of the sun. Every planet has a different distance according to ancient astrology. But you guys don't care about that, do you? No, you don't. You don't care about that. I don't care about that. Ooh, wee, ooh, I look just like Buddy Holly. Oh, oh, and a Mary Tyler Moore. So who wants to talk about what rising sign? I think Lovebug Blues wants to say Virgo rising. And that's wonderful for you, sweetheart. Because Venus goes into Virgo today. Don't you forget about me. Let's go to today. Or let's go to let's go to tomorrow, I guess. Yes, my friend. Okay. The alchemistic strategist says, I'm Venus combust, or perhaps Cazimi. It's not Kamizi, it's Kazimi. Just so you know. That's Cazimi. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. Kazimi. Right? Yes. Kamizi sounds like a sneeze. Kamizi! Oh, excuse me. Kamizi! You know? Kamizi. God, my eyes keep watering. So sorry, we're looking at... Can I ask you about adult sun's chart? He's on the cusp of Capricorn, Aquarius ascendant. Well, I need to know which it is because I don't do cusps. You're in one degree or another, Sherry, as far as I'm concerned. I don't do cusps. I'm not interested in cusps. My mom used to be into cusps. When I was a kid, my mom would be like, oh, here's my child. My child's a Gemini Taurus cusp. And I'm like, no, I'm a fucking Gemini, yo. But anyway, a Kazimi, my dear alchemistic, is within 17 minutes of the sun. So it's like way less than a degree. It's 17 minutes. So if you have 17 minutes, that's a big deal. And that's very auspicious. But if your Venus is combust, so a degree to like 15 or 20 degrees, then it's, you know, it's a little bit more difficult. Because that means the light of the sun is making the light of Venus disappear. It's combusting, right? Or it's enveloping the light of Venus so that Venus isn't visible or apparent, right? So combust is when, you know, the planet is sort of ending and beginning a new synodic cycle, right? It's approaching the conjunction with the sun, or it's leaving it, right? It's separating from it sometimes. But Venus combust can sort of, you know, lessen the significances of Venus. When we see Venus conjunct the sun, people are still charming. Sometimes they can be quite attractive, but they're socially awkward. And they can have sort of social difficulties. Now, I've known people with Venus combust that can be sort of not nice people, right? They can be sort of very selfish and manipulative, which is, you know, Venus sort of turned on its head. Or they can just be really shy, oftentimes. Sometimes they just have a difficulty displaying affection and how they feel about people. But you'd have to tell me if that's your experience. So, let's see, hold on. Let's see here. Sherry Berry. July 10th, 1995, 9:38 p.m. Blackfoot, Idaho. And Lovebug, you wanted us to look at Virgo rising quick, and then we'll look at Sherry Berry's sun. God, my eyes keep watering. It's going to make my mascara run. And my girlfriend's coming over right after this. My girlfriend's coming over. I'm excited to see her. I'm excited to see her. Your Venus is 1 degree away from the sun. Yeah, see, that's not quite Kazimi. I don't know, maybe some astrologers would call it that, but traditionally it's 17 minutes. Uranus sits right smack on his ascendant. No, my anus is over here in my chair. Boom, boom. I'm really fucking immature. So first, let's go to Virgo rising, and then we'll look at Sherry Berry's sun, who's apparently a Capricorn rising. And see, people get upset about me using whole sign houses sometimes, because they're like, well, my ascendant is 28 degrees Capricorn. I'm like, I don't care if it's 29 degrees, 29 and a half degrees. It's still Capricorn. Therefore, Capricorn is your first house, you know. And then people get all resistant, you know, because they've built up identifications around their stupid Placidus chart. And they argue with me all the way up and down. But eventually I win, because I'm right. I'm right. All right. Anyway, Virgo rising. So for Virgo rising, Venus is just entering the first house. And I always say, this is our time to feel beautiful and fun and sparkly. I'm not sure what your ascendant degree is, but when Venus crosses it or conjoins it, it's a significant time. It's sort of like a crescendo. I oftentimes will meet new sexual partners around those times. Probably because I'm feeling like extra sparkly, you know? Sparkly, sparkly. Oh, my eyes. Oh, my eyes. Oh, my eyes. Lovebug retracted a message. I'm sorry. Lovebug says, I use Time Passages. Is that a good app? I mean, it's one of the few you can use for Mac, you know, for Apple, Mac, whatever the fuck we want to call it. Time Passages was one of the few. Now, the best one for iOS is Astro Gold. Astro Gold, right? Let me use info. Astro Gold. This is like the gold standard, no pun intended, of astrological apps, but it's for iOS. It's for iOS. If you want to get something that works on everything, I suggest Ephemeris, who is, it was written, the program was written by someone I know, right? And it's very good. But to me, the gold standard is Astro Gold. So anyway. But yeah, you know what? I don't really use Time Passages, so I'm not super familiar with it. I just know other people who do use it and who have sworn by it, you know? You have Android. Okay, well, so I think, I don't know if you can get Astro Gold for Android. But look at Ephemeris. That's Iphemeris. Ephemeris. I'll write it in the chat because I can do that now. It's a play on ephemeris, but ephemeris, you know? It's like boomer people trying to sound young or whatever. Anyway, I'm not going to make fun of the programmer. I'm just going to say. So anyway, just to finish up Virgo rising, it's a wonderful time with Venus in there. The thing that's interesting for you, though, is that Venus just came out of your 12th house, which is all about self-care, you see? Oftentimes we have to be alone and we have to heal ourselves, or we take time out, because we get confronted with thoughts and feelings and probably mental health issues we thought we were over. Perhaps we get self-indulgent and want to, fall off the wagon again. Drinking, or typically it's alcohol. Could be mental health stuff that comes up, but then we address it because Venus is a benefic influence. Venus represents the house that Venus enters for you, represents bringing a little bit of harmony and sometimes pleasure or beauty to that area of your life, right? So Venus sort of illuminates some of our self-destructive tendencies and prompts us to sort of focus on ourselves, right? And treat ourselves a little bit better. At least that's what it should be an opportunity to do. Now, Mercury goes retrograde, right, today and in your first house, right? And Mercury rules your first house. So once again, this is an indication of having to go back and straighten out probably a mental health or self-indulgence issue. Sometimes it has to do with neurodivergence. If you just came out of a difficult period, there may be something you left undone that you have to redo, right? But hopefully now at this point, you'd approach it with a little bit more understanding, you see? You see? Now, we'll just mention a couple other quick things because you're about to have the Jupiter-Mars conjunction in your 10th house. And this can be quite explosive for work. Right? As I talked about, Jupiter-Mars usually represents explosions. One of the things I always think about, and you probably don't even remember this, but there was a giant explosion that happened in Beirut, Lebanon, I think, like a couple years back. And that was a Mars-Jupiter conjunction. Oftentimes we'll see bombs or military strikes or whatever, right? Because Jupiter blows Mars up. Right? Mars is violence and destruction oftentimes, and Jupiter's like, let's see if I can make that bigger, right? Let's make it bigger. Supersize me, right? I want a toy in my meal. It's not a happy meal. It's an unhappy meal, isn't it? Right? But sometimes there's some good parts to it. So Jupiter rules your 7th house and rules what? Your 7th house. Oh, wait, I already said that. Your 7th house, and where's Sagittarius? Your 4th house, right? I should have known that off the top of my bat. They're all mutable signs. Right? And then Mars, on the other hand, rules your 8th house. And where's Scorpio? Your 3rd house. The 3rd house is often messages that we get. Now, number one, with Mercury going retrograde in your 1st and your 12th house, you could get messages about your health, right? Could be mental health, could be physical health, because the 1st house is still involved. So if you've been waiting on test results or anything to do with doctor's appointments or medical things, that could come up around this time. Hopefully you're in therapy, because everyone should be. Hello, Bexy, baby. I can't wait to see you soon. I can't wait to see you soon. So anyway, with the Mars-Jupiter stuff up in your 10th house, right? On the one hand, it could involve career opportunity, but also splits and conflicts with our career or life direction. You know, it could be differences or conflicts with authority figures, you see? Because Jupiter rules the 7th house, right? And Mars rules the 3rd house. There could be nasty messages from exes, right? If you have an ex-partner or ex-husband or wife or whatever, there could be nasty messages from exes. There's that sort of thing too. 7th house, 3rd house. Then we also have the 8th house, right? And we have the 4th house. So if you owe people money, right, that's going to come up around this time. It might be your parents that you owe money. And you might have an explosive issue with your parents that pops up. 4th house, right? Or unfortunate messages from our parents. You see? But we're going to move on to Sherry Berry's sun, right? I just want to say one last thing. The Mars-Jupiter thing in your 10th house, that's a crescendo, right? Boom! But then things start to even out, right? And calm down. Because Jupiter will eventually bring more luck and benefic influences into your life direction. This could be between now and June of next year. This could be a time when you really start to be dissatisfied with your previous life direction. And you start to find or be excited about a new direction to go in, you see? When is this perfect? Oh, we just came out of a new moon in my 7th house. Yeah. Okay, let's see when this perfects. So around August 13th, 14th. August 13th. So just watch that after August 13th, things will start calming down, hopefully a little bit. Right, as we get into September especially. Because Mars will move into Cancer and then Leo, and then Mars will go retrograde in Leo. And that'll be your 12th house. So once we get into November, December, all the way through March, really, I'm pretty sure, the focus is going to be on either self-destructive patterns or a need to be alone, right? And it can be aggressively so. That's why Mars in the 12th house often leads to self-destructive patterns or making us face them, you see? So anyway, let's go on to Sherry Berry. Sherry Berry. Lovebug says, I'm in the Eastern time zone. Sweet. I'm in the mountain. I'm in the mountains. I'm a mile high. You see? In Colorado. A mile high. A mile high. Okay, let's go to Sherry Berry. Sherry, Sherry Berry, Sherry Berry, Sherry. Ugh, now my eye's really watering. My eye's really watering. It was so embarrassing yesterday. I took my daughter to the fucking museum, and we used the bathroom right when we got in there downstairs. And then we walked up like 3 flights of stairs to get to this exhibit. And then we had to wait in a long ass fucking line. And I had no clue. I had no clue that my dress was tucked into my fucking underwear. So everyone had been, like about 100 people had seen my ass. You know? Thank God it's pretty. You know? Thank God I have a nice ass. Don't I, Bexley? I have a nice ass. Ugh, you motherfucker. I'm trying to type Sherry Berry shit. Sherry. I have to move all the windows around. But yeah, that was so embarrassing. Thank God I'm mostly shameless. And I was kind of like, well, whatever. What am I going to do? But a bunch of people saw my ass. And luckily, there was a really nice lady who said, excuse me, your skirt is tucked into your underwear. And I just about like died. But I'm like, well, whatever, you know. And I'm like, thank you. My son and I used to live in Grand Junction. Oh yeah, that's west. I'm pretty sure of me. That's way out west. Hi, baby. What's up with you? It's my cat. Sherry's son. Sherry's son. 7/10/95. Sherry. Sherry Berry. Blackfoot, Idaho. Idaho? Idaho. Sorry. Astro Dienst has us ascended at 28. 28 Capricorn, 2 minutes. Yeah, so we'll see what this is in here. Astro Dienst is usually like the gold standard of free software. Kat, why are you... What is your deal? Do you want to come up here? No, I'm wearing a white dress. You shouldn't come up here with your black fur. You shouldn't come up here with your black fur. 9:38 p.m. Blackfoot. Blackfoot. Sherry. Sherry Bear. Oh my God, Kat, you are insane. You knocked over my little thing. Chill the fuck out, Kat. God damn it. These cats are insane. They're always cramping my style. They think they own the world, you know? Blackfoot, Idaho. You know, it's really interesting. Dogs will be like, yo, this person feeds me, pets me, waters me. They must be God. Meanwhile, my cats are like, yo, this person feeds me, pets me, waters me. I must be God. You know? So anyway, let me move this shit over here. Sherry. Sherry Berry. Bexy says I can confirm. Oh, thank you. My aunt lived in Red Rocks. Oh. My eyes are leaking. So yes, Sherry, look at this. Your son has the ascendant in very late Capricorn, but to me, that's still the first house. And yes, Uranus is on his ascendant. Excuse me. I'm still getting over the COVID cough. And I sound disgusting, and that's okay, because I don't give a shit. I'm caffeinated, and I don't care. But when Uranus is on the ascendant like that, we can't help but stand out. And the interesting thing, my son and his wife adopt foster cats. Yeah, I couldn't deal with that shit. I'd freak out. These two cats are like, you know, they're crazy enough. They're crazy enough, I tell you. So when Uranus is on the ascendant like that, we can't fit in even when we want to. Even when we want to fit in, we can't. And you see, when I see these things in the 7th house like that, I mean, technically, his sun is, I think, combust. Let me double check the degrees. Let me double check the degrees. Let me double check the degrees. Combust. Because I have it in my phone. Not combust, combust. Where the fuck is it? So Venus combust at 10 degrees. So 10 degrees away. So, I mean, you could say she's just barely under the beams. Under the beams isn't quite as bad as combust. But when Venus is pretty close to the sun, it mitigates some of her good tendencies, you see? Or some of her more social tendencies. Now, this boy, or young man here, I'm sorry. Young man. I've dated people younger than him, so. This young man may be very, very sensitive, right? And maybe wanted to fit in as a child, you know? Mars rules the 11th house, and Mars is in the 9th. Yeah. When Mars is in the 9th house, one of my first things, he is a creature of habit. He's a little worker bee. He is in love with school and work. Super responsible, just like his dad. I would imagine he has some aggression or some anti-spiritual bent. Well, and what I mean by that is he probably had a bad experience of religion somewhere, or maybe he's a bit more skeptical, right? Maybe he's suspicious of spirituality, because I often see that with Mars in the 9th house and Chiron up there as well. But Mars is opposite Saturn, and he's having a Saturn return right now. So you say that you are a hot mess, but internally he may be a hot mess right now too. I imagine it's very difficult for him to share his emotions with the moon in the 12th house, right? And the moon rules the 7th house. So I'd be careful about what kind of women, if he's straight, or what kind of partners or romantic interests that he's into. Oops, I need live chat. What the fuck? There we go. Okay. God damn it, my fucking eyes. Sherry baby. So anyway, what else is aspecting the ascendant? Pluto is sextile. So there's this whole deep, passionate inner nature that you may or may not see. You know, just under the surface, there's probably an obsessive nature. Then you see what else is flanking his ascendant is Neptune. And when Neptune is flanking the ascendant, right, there can be one of two ways that it manifests. It can either be what I call the shape of water, where you sort of just adapt to whatever situation you're in, and you can be quite manipulative of other people in order to get what you want. Or it can be someone that sort of tries to people please, and who tries to fit themselves in the social expectations of whatever situation they find themselves in. When I see all this shit in the 7th house like this, my first thought is kind of a simp. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it's not surprising to me that he's so young and married and whatever so early. Well, I don't know. How old is he? He's 12 years younger. I'm 41. So 31 minus 2 is 28, right? So, well, Saturn return, fucking duh. 28, 29, right? He's probably 28. So 28 or so. Is that true? Because Saturn's in Pisces. Anyway, when I think of that, I think of someone who always wanted an intimate relationship, you know? So it doesn't surprise me that he's married early on. But the moon's in the 12th house, so oftentimes I wonder if he's attracted to fixer-uppers, or people with mental health issues, or neurodivergence, or, at the most difficult representation, it could be drugs or alcohol sometimes. But you say you love his wife, and I'm sure, he is safe there, trust me. Well, I don't trust anybody. I trust the power of my own mind. That's what I trust. And I trust my daughter. But otherwise, I trust the power of my own mind. I guess I trust Bexy next to me. But yeah, just something to work with. Or see, he and his wife are the most loving and just people. Yes, he throws himself into relationships. That's something you have to be careful of, right? Because the people-pleasing thing with all this 7th house shit. When you see Mercury in Cancer like that, you know, I'm like, just spit it out. They take forever to say shit. Like, well, um, mm, like, today, Junior. Come on, spit it out, right? But very sensitive with Cancer Venus. I mean, I have Cancer Venus, and I'm very romantic, so that doesn't surprise me. But the Sun in the seventh house, along with Venus in the seventh house, can be codependent. So that's just something to watch. Now, Mars is trying his ascendant like me. So he may be a bit competitive. He may be a bit athletic. He may be, you know, I don't know if I'd say quick-tempered so much, but he might have a dry skin or a reddish hue, you know. Maybe he gets very flushed or blushed very easily, especially when he gets angry. Because I have Mars trying the ascendant too. And I mean, I'm a very angry and I could be a very nasty person. Now, I'm not saying he is whatsoever. But the competition, like the competitive nature, being high energy or high activity, we usually see athletes, people who are good with certain sports, you know? People who are good with certain sports. Now, North Node in the 11th house. North Node in the 11th house often indicates that, you know, life was more focused on fun and enjoyment and his own sort of stuff when he's younger. But as he gets into his late 30s, right, like 38, stuff starts to become more and more about his passions or stuff he believes in, right? What, his idealism, the justice he wants to see in the world. Like-minded people, groups. That's why we see stuff like activism or joining political or religious groups, stuff like that, you know, and that's later in life. Jupiter's very happy, but Jupiter also rules the third house. Do you have any other children? Do you have any other children? Oh, first of all, is he neurodivergent with Moon in the 12th house? And if you have any other children, I wonder if there's a difficult relationship there. Saturn is in the third house, so it could be he could be an only child, or there could be difficulties or strains, right, with the sibling. Either I would say there's a hidden sibling or no sibling, of course. A hidden sibling or no sibling, but there could be a sibling that has mental health or substance issues. No, just him. Okay. When I see Mars, though, in Virgo, I think of, who moved my cheese? You know? Like, they're the kind of people who, like, angle something on their desk so they can tell if you touched it. You know? So they can tell if you touched it. Yes, stormy relationship. Stormy relationship with who? The third house can also be aunts, uncles, cousins, right? Stuff like that, not just siblings. But I wonder if dad was very religious, right? I wonder if dad was religious or dad was a fanatic about something or tried to impose his values, you know? Impose his values or whatever. Anyway, I should talk about timing. Saturn return is the biggest thing right now, of course. Does anyone else want to throw their fucking chart shit up there? Who else is here? Oh, there's only 3 people here. You are this substance abuser and mentally unstable. Well, I wonder if we see an indicator of that in his chart. Where's the moon? Moon in the 12th house. So there you go. I wonder if you're a bit erratic too with Moon in Sagittarius. But he would be a bit unpredictable as well, you know? His dad is fanatical. His dad is fanatical, nice, but fanatical. I have a question, por favor. I started this year more financially abundant and now not so much. What may be blocking me here and what can I lean into? Well, please put your birth date, time, city. So just putting your date won't tell us a lot of information. What tells us the best and the most information is the date, time, and city. Date, time, city. Date, time. Oh, I just flipped off the camera. I didn't mean to do that. That could get me in trouble with YouTube. Holy shit. Holy shit, yo. So anyway, quick timing stuff, right? Venus just entered his ninth house. So this is great about learning or university or whatever. His dad left me alone to raise him. Oh, goodness. Well, I'm so sorry. You would love to be on the list, Elizabeth? Well, put your birth information in the chat, and I will get to you in the order your call was received. His dad is an immigrant. Well, oh, that's the ninth house. So well done, Sherry. You alerted me to another glaring signification of the ninth house, which is foreign things, foreign people, foreign travel, long journeys. Yes, foreign stuff. So yes, that's a wonderful thing to mention here, Sherry, because I was so stuck on the religion thing. Because I've got issues with God. Me and God have issues. We have issues. You know, it's a father-daughter thing. Like when you say your father can't logically exist. You know? My sister, my aunt's son, was also a substance abuser. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry with that. So other timing stuff really quickly. Jupiter's going through his sixth house. Mars is going through there right now. Well, Sherry Berry, I still have to start my members only live streams where we're doing astrology lessons. I was going to start it a week ago, but I was sick with COVID. And now I have to figure out how to do the members only shit and still share my screen. So we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Members only live streams. Members only live streams. She was a wonderful aunt. Well, I'm so sorry. He's probably attracted to people with the same spiritual or political values as him because Mars rules his 11th house and his... Anyway, I gotta stop. I gotta go on to the next person. But Jupiter going to the 6th house is very good for him to start organizing his life, to take things, you know, and get them under control, right? Maybe he gets a new animal or a new pet or a dog or a cat or something. But Mars going through the 6th house right now is not too fun because we can get sick. It pushes us to start doing things and knocking shit off the list. It forces us into obligations to take care of them. The problem is we can burn ourselves out, you see? We can burn ourselves out. And that's how we get sick. So the key thing about Mars going through the 6th house is to pace ourselves and to make sure we still get rest. But see, what I'm worried about for him is when Mars goes into Cancer. I think it's September 4th. Mars goes into Cancer. Yes, please, Amanda Lee, put his birth information in the chat. And I'll get to them. I'll get to him really quickly. I just want to double check. When Mars goes into Cancer, I'm pretty sure it's September 4th. Yes, it's September 4th. I was right. Once Mars goes into Cancer, he's going to have conflicts with his partner. At least that's how it typically manifests. So just tell him watch out, because during Mars in the 7th house, we could say or do things that end up causing a bigger issue later, right? So we have to watch our mouths, which sometimes takes a mirror, doesn't it? We have to watch our mouths. We have to be careful that we don't say things that we can't take back. Sometimes these things need to be said, but, you know, we just tell him to watch out about Mars in the 7th house. The other thing I see with Mars in the 7th house is dating. That's what happened with Mars in my 7th house. Excuse me. Yeah, if you want your chart read, it's date, time, city. So who was after Sherry? I hope that was okay, Sherry. And I don't ever try and be, what do we got? Did we look at the Alchemist? Did we already look at the Alchemist strategist? Who did we look at here? Just Sherry's son? Oh, and then whoever mentioned Virgo. Okay. Who is next? Was it the Alchemist? The Full Metal Alchemist. Who is next? Who is next? You have a question. So, Alchemist. Okay, you are next, Alchemist. The Full Metal Alchemist. What's the alchemistic? Alchemistic. The alchemistic. 1984. So you're just a year younger than me. We're around the same age. Once you're our age, like it's the same age, you know? Like people within 3 to 5 years of us are like the same age, right? That's how it feels now. When we were in high school, it would have been like scandalous to date. Although I was dating a 26-year-old when I was 19. Oh, you see, I was pretty cool. I'm like, I got an older woman. I got an older woman. We were both ravers, you know. So the relationship was built around ecstasy. I mean, not just figuratively, but, you know, like the drug as well. I mean, ecstasy, or I don't know. How do I not get in trouble for saying that? I just can't monetize these things unless... See, I can monetize them if I put them behind my memberships, which I have to do. I have to start doing more things for members because I need to make it worth their while to be members. Chattanooga. And please like the stream and subscribe to my channel. Please, please, please. I prioritize donations and I prioritize members. So it looks like we don't really have a big group today, though. Usually I have like 20 people, or at least close to it. So I'll show you another good game that I know. That's the Cat in the Hat. I used to have that shit memorized because I used to read it to my daughters so much. Elder millennials. Yes, we're elder millennials. I've been making so much fucking fun of Gen X lately too because they're all over TikTok, like unhinged. You know, like, Gen X is rising. Watch out. Here we come. You've just woken the Gen X sleeping bear. Motherfucker, you guys are the new boomers. Shut up and take a nap. Woke up a sleeping bear. You don't wake up for anything. You know? You don't wake up for shit. You wake up for fucking Saturday Night Live, which no one watches anymore except for you people. You know? Bexy says, I also dated someone who was too old for me when I was a teen. See, sweetheart, we have a lot in common, don't we? We do. My son's best friend just received a Pulitzer. You mean a Pulitzer? The Pulitzer Prize? Isn't that for authors? Yeah, Pulitzer Prize authors, right? So we have a Gemini rising here like Bexy. And we have another person with Mars combust. Look at that. Although it's a lot closer. Well, it's less than a degree, but still. Muffin of Doom. Gen X waited till their 50s to rise up. I know. And the funny... my sister's Gen X. I have tons of friends who are Gen X. I just like to make fun of them. Because Gen X is the Trumpiest generation there is. Well, I guess boomers too, but... Gen X is the Trumpiest generation, they say. Because they're all fucking angry and entitled. See, what they always say is like, my parents beat me, therefore I'm better. You know? I mean, my parents beat me too, but I'm an elder millennial, so I got grandfathered in. My older siblings were Gen X. But they all get fucking crazy about this. Like, we didn't wear seatbelts. We disappeared into the woods for 5 days. You know, on mescaline. Therefore, we're better. Okay. You know. I'm married to Gen X and I call him Boomer all the time. Yeah. And we love Gen X. I love my Gen X fans. We're just giving them shit because a bunch of them are unhinged on TikTok. You know, and they're wearing usually like Trump hats and shit. And they're using filters. You know. So anyway. So the first thing I see is all the stuff in the first house in Gemini, right? I mean, I wouldn't call this stuff conjunct your ascendant necessarily. Mercury I would. And Mercury's very happy in Gemini. So you're very intelligent. You're a very intelligent person. You just don't have a lot of confidence, right? Excuse me, you just don't have a lot of confidence, probably, or at least not when you were younger. 5:18 p.m. What did I have? Oh, okay. Where was 5:52? Okay. Edit chart. Now, you all have to bear with me here because I have dyslexia. Okay? So don't freak out at me. Maybe that was the previous time from another chart. So just, if you see something, tell me. Because I have dyslexia. And people want to get all crazy with me all the time. Okay, there we go. Oh my gosh. Scorpio rising with Saturn and Mars in the first house. That's rough. Gosh, you probably wish you had the other charts. May I have Cash App or Venmo, please? Of course you can. So, what's my Venmo? I don't have Cash App anymore because it was like throwing up errors on me. But my Venmo, what's my Venmo? What's my Venmo? Oh, my Venmo should be at Frankie Lynch 777. That's my Venmo. Hold on, put it in the chat. I should probably put all my things on there because not everyone has PayPal. I typically use PayPal because it's like my business account and it's attached to my business stuff. It says Saturn Girl LLC because I'm a limited liability corporation. So people say like, are you a business or a business enterprise? I'm like, thank you so much, Elizabeth. Thank you. Anyway, you have Saturn conjunct your ascendant. I mean, that's rough. And then all this shit over in the fucking... It's on the chat. Cool. Did it... I just want to make sure it was working. Yeah, it's at Frankie Lynch 777. I prefer people to call me Saturn Girl now. My own name seems like foreign to me after much of this. So, now see when Mars is very happy in Scorpio, but Mars is retrograde, you see? 6th house. So you see the confidence thing happens later in life. I mean, you're probably already at that place now, right? Now with the moon in the 2nd house, the idea of scarcity would probably be terrifying to you, right? You're in full moon, baby, too, just about. You know, very late full moon or early disseminating moon. So you see full moon babies have something to prove. Kamala Harris is a full moon baby. You see? I think Trump is a full moon baby also. I'm pretty sure Trump is a full moon baby because he's a Gemini sun and a Sagittarius moon, you see? So we have lots of full moon babies who get high profile, whether for good or for bad. Success is often important. We're proving things, right? Showing people what you can do. Now I got hair in my fucking eye. When I see Mars conjunct Saturn, I think if people have to work hard for everything. Like nothing comes easy to you. And when Saturn is conjunct the ascendant, oftentimes it's people who are people pleasers. People pleasers, you know? Is this your chart, Alchemistic? Or is this someone else? Or is this someone else? So when I see Saturn in the 1st house, I think of people who try and find their value through other people, right? And that's why I said the confidence thing, because we try and fit ourselves into a box of other people's expectations, you see? And that's something we get over or have to get over as we get older, you see? Now, Venus represents your 7th house here, your partners, right? Marriages and shit like that. So when I see Venus in the 8th house there, I think either maybe a partner passed away, or more often it's usually being interested in the dangerous boys. I mean, I'm assuming you're a woman, and I'm assuming you're straight, because most people who follow me are straight women. And if that's the case, or whoever you're interested in, you'd be interested in shady or dangerous people. You'd like, the James Dean types, right? Or Firuza Balk. I was always obsessed with the bad girls. A bunch of my ex-partners were bad girls. Because that danger always attracted me. And a lot of them were into kink and stuff like that, too. But you see, we live and we learn. So you probably have been through some abusive situations, I imagine. Or maybe people that you just like to forget. By a woman who loves the villains. Well, there you go. Do you have... What's aspecting Venus? Anything? Not really. Not really. I guess you could say Pluto is trine Venus. Very loose trine. Firuza Balk, she was one of my major crushes as a kid. Because you ever see that? Oh, shit. I need to put your chart up here. I was so used to them just going up there. The fuck, yo? Properties. Son of a fuck. Where is... God damn it. I'm gonna lose my goddamn mind. There we go. I'm sorry. I have Mars combust. You see, Venus combust sort of decreases, like the social grace. Mars combust, all it does, because Mars is hot and dry and the sun is hot and dry, all it does is amplify all the anger and amplify all the nastiness of Mars, right? And that's one of my worst enemies. Because yes, I've got people who love my work and I'm always antagonistic with them. I had someone who I thought of as a friend messaging me, like asking me about fucking trans athletes. And I basically said, fuck you. Because I'm not listening to that shit. I'm not up for debating. Hey, Melanie, hello. Anyone who wants me to look at their chart, please put your stuff in the chat. And I do prioritize people who donate either through PayPal, Venmo, or Super Thanks below, or Super Chats. And I prioritize members. You could join my channel memberships. And we do educational live streams. We do long form horoscopes per rising sign and stuff like that. Anyway, Firuza was first in this movie when I was a kid called Return to Oz. It was like the darkest fucking sequel to The Wizard of Oz you can imagine. And of course, little Firuza Balk, she already had a goth. She was like 12 years old and she already had a goth aesthetic, And I was like, how old was I? She's 2 years older than me. So I was 10, she was 12. And I'm like, and then The Craft came out when I was 15. And I was like, if she was probably 18 years old then. Jeez. How can I escape? Return to Oz. I was obsessed. Me too. How can I escape the debt that's looming that's never been an issue? Well, how has it never been an issue? The 8th house is debt. And look at all these planets you have up here. You've got the Sun, Venus, and Mercury. Now, Mercury's pretty happy. But I'm not surprised. No. Mercury's pretty happy. You see, with the North Node in the 8th house, I watched The Craft on my 10th birthday and I was obsessed. Yeah, I think I was 15. I want to say I was 15. Or something like that. But right now, Mars is going through your 8th house. That's the fucking problem. That's the problem. I'd have to see more. You'd have to tell me more about what your debt is. What it's concentrated in. Right? Because Mars is in your 8th house right now. Causing a bunch of shit. And when Mars goes through our 8th house, we often go more into debt. And sometimes our spending gets out of hand or away from us. Now, when I see Mars through the 8th house too, I think of unforeseen expenses. Yeah. I think of like, oh, your car breaks down. Or a big piece of equipment, breaks. And you have to put something on credit. Right? When I see Mars going through the 8th house, I'm like, hide your fucking credit cards. Cut them up or whatever. But now everyone's got their shit in their phone, And Jupiter's also going through your 8th house, though. So it gets better. Now remember, I said Mars goes into Cancer September 4th. So I really think you're going to start to feel some relief after then. You see? Mars rules your 6th house of work, and obligations. So perhaps that's when you start to organize your finances. Because guess what? Jupiter's going through your 8th house right now. So yes, you start to see things get better as Mars leaves, right, Gemini, and Jupiter makes it farther in, you see? So you will see your debt situation improve, even though Jupiter hates Gemini. Jupiter rules your 2nd house of money. So things will improve. You're going to pay down debt or restructure it. But when Jupiter's going through this house, it means you need to organize your finances, right? You need to organize your debt. Like we see debt restructuring or shit like that. So you need to start saving, and you need to start a plan, a timed plan, a detailed, not that detailed, but a detailed plan for how you're going to pay shit off. Like for me, I'm paying a shitload in taxes. A shitload in taxes. So I had to set up a payment plan. Right? And I have this stuff going through my 8th house right now too. I have Venus and I have Mercury there. Yes, credit card debt minor, but still a big stress. Well, yeah, see, I'm not surprised about that, but things do get better, you see? Now, your North Node in the 8th house, though, signifies that you're at a time in your life when you're learning about loss. From now and for the rest of your life, the motif is about learning to let go. And letting go doesn't have to be a bad thing. You sent me a donation under Edna. So we're getting you next then. Thank you, sweetheart. You're so kind. We're going to get you next. And we will get to everyone, I promise. We'll get to everyone. And then my girlfriend's coming over after. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. I know. I want you. I want you. I don't really remember the lyrics to that song. It was an 80s song when I was a kid. Soon you're all going to be calling me a fucking boomer, right? The millennials rising again. We're bringing back the Smashing Pumpkins. As far as I'm concerned, you can cancel all the musicians from the 90s because it seems like they were all grapists, Pretty much all of them are grapists. Billy Corgan from Smashing Pumpkins wasn't, but he's a fucking MAGA person now. Turns out Marilyn Manson's a rapist. Grapist, sorry. Trent Reznor's the only one we have left. Trent Reznor's the only one who's not an asshole. Trent Reznor. Ugh, I love 9 Inch Nails so much. Every day is exactly the same. So you're going to see the situation get better, okay? Although money's always difficult with you, look at this. Jupiter rules your 2nd house and is retrograde and in fall in your 3rd house. So you see you have a difficulty with money just in general, right? Sort of a general difficulty that you may have. At least that's what it looks like. I could be wrong. Now the sun ruling the 10th house and the 8th, You might be involved in finance or stuff like that. Or maybe you were involved in shady activity when you were younger. But I imagine you might work behind the scenes a bit. But the big life motif is learning to let things go. Like I said, you probably looked for your value through other people, right? Which is like codependency. And learning how to let go of all that stuff. Learning to let go of expectations and things you thought you wanted. That's a big deal for you. And you see other people would find you as a confidant. Perhaps like a psychological companion. Or a psychological, what's the word? Emotional support friend. Emotional support animal. But we got to go on to Melanie, right? Elizabeth. And then we'll go on to everyone else in sequential order. Elizabeth. Here we go. St. Louis, Missouri, the gateway to the West. Ezrabeth, I guess. Ezrabeth. See, if I get your name wrong, it's usually because I'm dyslexic. Or sometimes I do get names from other cultures or languages incorrectly. So just bear with me. I'm an international girl, but I do have my limitations. I don't know the political situation or the language of every country, but I try to be aware of most of it. Or a lot of it, rather. And just think about all the Mercury retrograde stuff that's been going on. The Venezuelan elections, right? Basically, Israel tanking their own peace talks, right? It's a very scary situation. We all need to be very careful. 6:30 p.m. And I'm sorry, but if Kamala starts capitulating on all that shit, she's gonna lose lots of young people. She's gonna lose lots of young people. Okay. So we have Ezra. Now, I know people get all weird about my political stances and shit, but I'm a political person. Like, political activism is my first love before even astrology. So you're going to hear me spouting shit off. Now, Erzabeth, this is a difficult situation because the sun rules your first house. And then the sun is in detriment in Aquarius, right? In exile. And having the sun... variation of Elizabeth. Yeah, I gotcha. Where y'all fucking going? Why is there only 8 people? It's heartbreaking what is happening to Gaza and Venezuela. Yeah, it's very, it's very difficult. And, we as Americans we need to be aware of these issues. It's very important that we are. Because it sort of connects us to the stuff that's really going to affect us here too. Because like it or not, we're part of the international community. Although kind of a belligerent influence, but still, we're part of the international community. In fact, one of the biggest parts because we run so much of the financial network, if you will. So anyway, I had this neighbor who was from El Salvador. Oh my God. Don't get me started on El Salvador. Like death squads and death marches in the 1980s. These right-wing death squads that were funded by the U.S. government. Not me personally, but by the U.S. government. I think I was like 3 or 4 years old. But that was under Reagan. A lot of that shit. So anyway, the sun in the 7th house, you have to watch out for being a simp or codependency as well. Now, when I see Mercury in Aquarius, I think of someone who is very good with electronics or how systems work, how parts fit together. It's the ability to see the forest and not just the trees. You see, we often see people with Mercury in Aquarius in like IT positions or project management or planning, right? Because they can see how things fit together, right? That's the beautiful part about Mercury in Aquarius. But your Mercury's retrograde, so you're a bit slower. You might have to think things over or mull them over, right? And Mercury... Gemini rising, hello, sweetheart. Good day to you as well. Good day to you as well. Sorry, I do this weird stimming thing. But look at that. Look at that. You have all these guys going through your 11th house in Gemini right now. Jupiter and Mars. Jupiter and Mars. So for a little bit here, you can expect either fights or conflicts with friends or feeling alienated from your social circles or your social group. But not to worry, because September 4th, Mars goes into Cancer and Jupiter's hanging out in your 11th house for a while. Which brings supporters. It brings people who value what you do. It brings people who care about you, who support you. I'm thinking mostly friends. I'm not thinking romantic type people. I'm thinking mostly friends and stuff like that. And it could be an enjoyable time. You see, the 11th house is the pleasures of the mind, whereas the 5th house is the pleasures of the flesh. I'm a supervisor for a security team at courthouse in Arvada. I'm from Arvada. I'm having a hard time to find employees. Well, you see, when you talk about employees, Capricorn is your 6th house, and that represents our employees. Now, when I see Venus in the 6th house, I would say I have Venus in the 6th house too. And my staff, when I was a restaurant manager, my staff loved me. They cried when I left, right? My restaurant wept when I left. See, I'm so vain. But really, I took a pretty good care of them. You know, I used to put my ass on the line for them kind of a lot because they deserved it. So you may be loved by employees in general, but this is a difficult time as you're indicating. Now, Saturn is also in your 6th. I bet you go with animals too. I bet you go with animals. But Saturn is in your 6th house, which makes employees also difficult. On the other hand, or it can make them scarce. So Saturn here rules your employees because it's Capricorn. And Saturn right now is going through your 8th house. So you see, it feels like going it alone. But with Jupiter in your 11th house, I think you're going to find more connections because Jupiter in the 11th house also is networking, bringing people together. So wait till Mars leaves. But you see, after September 4th, Mars will be in your 12th house, and you're going to be aggressively solitary. And you might be faced with things about yourself that you'd rather not see, whether it's self-destructive behavior, you know, or having to deal with a therapy issue or a mental health issue, flare-ups with all of that sort of stuff. You see? Flare-ups with all that sort of stuff. Now, Jupiter square your ascendant, that's kind of nice, isn't it? You know, you're probably well-liked. People probably like you. You have a very welcoming or inclusive disposition. But you see, as you get older, and you're going to be entering that time in your life here in the next few years, when this nodal thing starts to take off. And once again, it's about learning to let go, right? It's about learning to let go and recognizing that the things you were attached to really just hold us back. Like, you remember that line from Fight Club? The things you own end up owning you. Now, I'm not saying that we don't own things or we can't have money and shit, but we have to recognize when our attachment to things holds us back, right? From what we really need to do or what we want to do. And the thing about all this 10th house fucking Jupiter and Mars shit is life direction can be difficult, right? Life direction can be difficult to figure out. And it might take time. And you see, when Mars is here, we oftentimes feel a need to cut off from a certain life direction and pursue a new one. And look at this. Venus rules your 10th house of career and is in your 6th house of employees. So maybe the service and wait, what did you say you do? For a security team. You see? Okay. Well, see, oftentimes we see the service industry with the 6th house, but we can also see, I feel so lost, to be honest, especially spiritually. Well, that's the best place to be because there's nowhere else to go but forward, right? When we feel lost spiritually, I call it spiritual aridity, right? Where things feel arid. It's the spiritual desert. Our spiritual life sort of goes like this. And I'm saying this as someone who's an atheist, or, you know, depends on what you mean by it. I'm an empiricist. I don't believe in things that I can't experience or determine through like actual empirical evidence, right? Or logic. And spirituality isn't always logical. But you see, we go through these waves, right? We go through these waves where we have this ecstatic sort of thing and we feel connected, right? And then we dip down to what I call the desert or the aridity, where we feel disconnected and we feel separated, right? It's like being Christ on the cross. Oh, Father, why hast thou forsaken me? But you've never been forsaken. You're never really alone. And even though I don't believe in God necessarily, doesn't mean you shouldn't. Everyone should be able to put their faith and trust in something higher than themselves. I have my own issues with it, and that's my problem, right? But you have to recognize that these places you're in, right, where you feel so lost, this is where you have the greatest opportunity, right? This is where I was raised very Catholic, so I quote scripture like the devil. But do you remember Christ wandering the wilderness for 40 days or whatever the fuck, right? That's, to me, that's a psychological representation of the affirmation of our own faith. You have to recognize that you're wandering in the desert. And you have to hold on to some semblance of hope and faith as you navigate that desert. It's a psychological desert where we feel depressed, despondent, right? I have a lot of issues with Christianity. I have a lot of issues with all fucking religion. To be honest with you, I hate religion. And I hate spirituality. Because I grew up in the spiritual circuit. I started with all this stuff, the spiritual stuff, when I was 12 years old, consciously. When I left the Catholic Church. And I've seen so much abuse and nastiness and self-justification and selfishness in the spiritual and the occult community and the astrological community, right? So to me, it's very liberating to be at odds with spirituality for a little bit, but then we have to reconcile these opposites within ourselves, you know? We have to reconcile these opposites. Why do people keep leaving? Am I pissing people off? Like, what the fuck, yo? Anyway. So my point here is this is the best place for you to be. Because when we experience these periods of depression or despondency or whatever, this is when we have the greatest opportunity to test our trust, right? To test our trust. And if you can't put your trust in something higher than yourself, then you're going to have a bad time. You know, at a certain point, we have to learn to put our trust in just ourselves, right? Like the Buddha said, to be our own refuge. Yeah. To be our... Gemini Rising says, you are awesome. Thank you. My dad showed up randomly in spirit several years ago after he died. He interacted with me in real time. We were never close. That's amazing. That's very cool. You've had that experience. I never have. I had a partner who claimed they were a medium or whatever, and they used to tell me they were talking to my dead father. And to me, that's abusive, right? I bought into it for a minute. But to me, that's still an abusive thing to say to people, you know? But that's amazing that you've had that experience. I haven't. I'm a little envious. Because my father and I never got to say goodbye. He was a suicide, you know. My dad committed suicide 22 years ago. So anyway, there's some indication here of some... Wait, you were talking about the spiritual stuff, right? And there's great indication of spiritual stuff, you know. And then, check this out. You're having your Saturn go through your 8th house, which again can teach us about death and letting go, Ezrabeth. But then Saturn next summer, is going to enter your 9th house. And this is going to deconstruct the things you believe in, whether that's your worldview, your politics, or spirituality or religion. You see? When this happened to me, I was raised very conservative Catholic. And I went through this whole overhaul of my political values when Saturn went through my 9th house. You know? Believe it or not, I was a very conservative little kid. So I had a dream where I've been visiting something by my family that has passed. Yeah, I've had a few dreams about my dad that were very intense, you know. I guess what I'm saying is my dad is not condemned. No one is condemned. I refuse to believe in anything, but no one is condemned. The whole story of religion, of Christ, is about redemption. You know, there's even redemption in Judaism. There's redemption in Islam, right? The general story of monotheistic religions is about redemption. And what do we mean by redemption? We're lifting things up. We're reconnecting. The opposite of redemption in this context is separation, right? Tearing things apart, whereas the redemption is bringing them back together, right? So I'm not going to go a whole bunch into scripture because I know I've read the Bible front to back, or at least listened to audio, several times. And I've listened to lots of parts of it many, many, many times. Not that that should matter, but it's interesting to have that perspective as we look at this, isn't it? So anyway, just watch out for codependency on the one hand. That's very difficult, you see. As far as your financial situation, it gets better as you get older, right? Because Mercury's retrograde. No, let's look at some timing really quick because I got to go on to someone else. But where's Virgo? Oh, second house. So you see Mercury is going retrograde in your second house and going back to your first. So eventually your focus is going to be back on your money, right? Like Snoop Dogg, rolling down the street, smoking Indo, sipping on gin and juice, laid back with my mind on my money and my money on my mind, right? That's what I'm talking about here. Your attention gets shifted to money stuff here, and now with Saturn, with Mercury retrograde, your attention is getting shifted back to you. There's probably things you never took care of, either whether it could be health issues, it could be mental issues, it could be issues about your reputation, could be issues about your own success, right? But it's all about you. There's something you left undone or unturned that you're going back to be faced with. Mercury rules your 11th house and your second. So it still could have to do with money, or it could have to do with the way you treated people. So let's see. Sherry Berry says, I'm so sorry. That is a wound that never heals. You do not deserve that. You were an innocent child. Yeah, thank you. I mean, my dad was military and he was troubled. He was also probably autistic, and he went through 3 abusive relationships like I did until I finally learned I'm trans and poly, So it's very important. Pete Davidson lost his dad on 9/11. Yeah, I don't know much about Pete Davidson, to be honest. LMAO, that's all I do is go home, smoke, and work my ass off. Yeah, I don't blame you. I smoke a lot too. Excuse me. Excuse me. You could say the moon is square Venus too. I'm a Libra moon with moon square Venus, but for me it's in Cancer. Yours is the other way around. So this can be very awkward when we fall in love. We get very paranoid about relationships. We can't relax around the people that we love because we always expect them to leave us. We have abandonment issues. So you see you have a couple markers of codependency. You have to be careful of that because it's easy to get sucked in. If you're too scared to leave a relationship, then you're in for a bad time. Because when we're too scared, we let people treat us like shit. Anyway, we got to move on. Got to move on to someone else. But there's a lot of good optimistic stuff happening here. Especially after September 4th, right? Especially after September 4th. That's true. Huge abandonment issues. I know, sweetheart. I have them too. Moon square Venus is a bitch, Been smoking the purple GMO puff puff pass. Yeah, see, I've been mixing, I don't know if I could say this on here, but I've been doing a little flour and a little concentrate and a little more flour. It's like a sandwich. Remember when Shaggy and Scooby used to make these sandwiches? Like, ooh, it's a sandwich. Talking that kind of shit. Who was after Ezrabith? Okay. After Ezrabith, do we do Melanie? Are you still here, Melanie? Please sound off. I'll start looking at your shit. Ooh, a fellow Gemini. Melanie. Melanie. That's such a Gen X name. Melanie. It reminds me of those old shows, Platinum OG here. Nice. I don't know what I have in the back. I have to go look at what it's called. I think it's Cherry Slimeade or some shit. Cherry Slimeade. Everything is slime now with you know what. Slime. Everything is slime. Slime, slime, Okay, so we got Melanie, and then we have Stephanie Caldwell. Please let me know that you're still here. Please let me know that you're still here, because otherwise I could do someone else's chart. I'm entering Melanie. Melanie. Funny you said Scooby-Doo. My name is Daphne. My name is Velma. Jinkies. Where the fuck did Melanie go? May 27th. 1976. May 27th, 1976. 8:30 p.m. 8:30 p.m. Where the fuck did your shit go? The Netherlands. The Netherlands. How do I type this in? How do I do the Netherlands? I'll just say Amsterdam. I'll just say Amsterdam because it'd be the same time zone. I mean, the Netherlands aren't a super big country. Isn't a super big country. Do we still say Belgium or no? Is it just the Netherlands? Or is see, I'm so awful right now. Let's see. Melanie. Just Melanie. Okay, Melanie. Ezra Bit says, I have runts, cake piece, cereal milk, and sourdough. See, I know myself too well, and I'm trying to watch my figure, because my other job is doing adult streaming, and I need to look good, you know? And so I don't keep any food in my house that I actually enjoy. You know? Amsterdam's okay. Cool. So your first house ruler is Jupiter in the 6th house. That's a difficult place for the first house ruler, because it oftentimes... Bexy says, I wish I lived in the Netherlands. Yeah, me too. I don't know, it sounds pretty good. I wonder if it's any better than... In 1982, I bought a bag of weed from a coworker at the pier in Newport. He was arrested and charged with murder a month later. Oh my god. Holy shit. What's flower? Oh, those are all flowers. Oh. Okay. He killed his late dad's wife. Jesus Christ. That's the thing about being an astrologer. Is I've had hundreds and hundreds of clients, and I've heard the worst fucking stories you can imagine. I mean, I've been through some shit too, and I can relate to people. But goddamn, I've heard some real fucked up stories. I had a client once whose stepdad used to lock her in the fucking closet for days at a time. Like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, so we got Mars in the 9th house. Usually difficult experience of religion growing up, you know. Difficult experience of religion. You may have kids who are religious, or kids who are astrologers or spiritual, or professors, or who move to another country. Excuse me. Or who moved to another country. Oh yeah, no, I know. I mean, weed wasn't legalized in California until 2018, so you know, I had been involved. I didn't smoke for 10 years though when I was with my ex-wife. Like, I literally didn't smoke for 10 years, which for me is like death, but I'm glad we don't have Donald. Yeah, well, we could. If we do get Donald again, I could be illegal. I could be forced to leave the country. Like, I could literally become illegal. Oh, look at this. Look at this. You have the moon conjunct Jupiter. My daughter has the moon conjunct Venus and Jupiter conjunct the sun. And you have the sun conjunct Venus and moon conjunct Jupiter. So it's sort of the opposite thing. But it's such a sweet disposition. I mean, I bet you're a really cool person or a nice person. I bet you've had some chronic health issues. You have a son, 16, he's spiritual. Yeah, see, I'd expect him to do that, and I expect him either to get into, I'd expect him to be very deep and intelligent, a philosophical type, or an academic type. You know, we see professors, we see, you know, foreign exchange shit, or whatever. But I bet he's very, very intelligent, is what I'm saying. Very, very intelligent. Now, for you, I'd expect you to have had some chronic health issues, or to have been treated like crap or bullied, right? Treated like crap or bullied. I'm saying that because the first house ruler in the sixth house of enemies. Now, I also bet you're very good with animals because the sixth house is also animals. You see? You filthy animal. Merry Christmas, you filthy animal. Right? That was from Home Alone. Home Alone. That was a John Hughes movie. I love John Hughes, and Home Alone's still kind of whack. Anyway, seventh house ruler is Mercury in the sixth house. You've probably been divorced, you know. You've probably been divorced. I imagine so. But you see, you need, yes, lots of migraines. I'm sorry, I get them too. I have degenerative disc disease, so I get these pounding head things. But you see, you need a partner who's supportive, maybe even submissive, but someone who can help you, like, do the daily stuff of life. You know, someone who can be supportive and reliable. That's usually the most important thing with the seventh house ruler in the sixth house. Now, let's talk timing a little bit. Because you got Jupiter and Mars going through your seventh house. So even though you're kind of simpy, I bet you've made improvements in your life and you're a little bit more independent now. And the rest of your life typically would be about, you know, facing mental challenges, letting go of traumas, processing these sorts of things. Saturn's also in the eighth house. You probably had someone really close to you die when you were younger. Moon in the sixth house. I imagine it was a pet or an animal when you were really young. That was your first brush with death, and it probably really affected you. I mean, that's what it looks like. But anyway, all this stuff going through your seventh house is cool. Now, Mars is, you know, stirring up shit with you and your partner. If you do have a partner, I foresee fights or conflicts with your partner. If you don't have a partner, I expect you to start dating, right? Because you like, I want a partner. I want a partner. You know? It's what happened to me. I started dating when the Mars was in my seventh house. After I'd taken a hiatus, right? For transitioning. Now, Jupiter's also in your seventh house. So once Mars leaves September 4th, you're going to have all this wonderful relationship stuff available to you. So I really suggest you get on dating apps if you're single. You know, and you might be like, well, I'm too old and all this sort of shit. No, you're not. You're not. You're not too old at all. You're not. I've dated women older than you. So, and I met them on dating apps. Some of them were dominant and some of them were submissive. You know, I go both ways. But I do love a good mommy here and there, you know. Yes, my partner for now is like a child. Well, and look. Your fifth house is ruled by Mars, and Mars is going through, and the fifth house is children, and Mars is going through your seventh house right now, so that's not surprising. That's not surprising. But yeah, you might have a hair up your butt about wanting to split up, you know, after this transit. I don't know. You hope an ex is coming back. Well, Mercury is going retrograde where? In your 10th house, and going back into your 9th. So typically I see that as having to go back and, you know, learn something that you didn't learn properly, or explore. Maybe you were wrong about something or someone and you have to go back and explore, you know, the meaning of what this all really was. Maybe you're revisiting some old values or beliefs that used to hold you, right? And now you're sort of like, it's not really, doesn't fit with my values anymore. It could be having to go back, you know, to another location to take care of stuff left undone, you know. But your attention is going to be focused on career here, you know, as Mercury goes back into Virgo. You see, Mercury goes direct August 28th, and then re-enters Virgo like September, I don't know, 5th or some shit. So, anyway, talk about Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Saturn going through your 4th house. It's a difficult one. I don't know if you still have your parents or not. But it oftentimes makes you feel rejected from your own home culture or homeland or whatever. So it's a hard one. But we got to move on to the next person because I'm taking too long. Way too long. Just got a new job. Yep. Sounds pretty characteristic. So after Melanie. Melly. Melly. Watch me now. That was Woolly Bully. Okay, we did. Where the fuck was... Where was Melly's stuff? Because who was after Melly? I almost said Smelly Melly. That's not very nice. It's probably shit you heard when you were a kid. Amanda Lee, are you still here? Is this you? Where the fuck was Melly? Oh, Amanda Lee, I missed you. Where are you, Amanda Lee? Are you still here, baby? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to miss you. I did not mean to miss you. I'm so sorry. You have to cut me some slack because I'm trying to keep track of all this stuff myself. You were born August 1st of 2024? You could not have been... August 1st of 2024? What year was it really? Stephanie Caldwell, where was your shit? Is Amanda Lee still here, by the way? Because you put 2024. You put 2024. And I don't think you were born yesterday. I wasn't born yesterday. That's what my dad used to say. I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. Because the next person I have on my list is Amanda Lee. Where was Caldwell? Where was Caldwell? Caldwell was after Melanie, but I missed Amanda Lee. Are you still here, Amanda Lee? I like your jokes, so you can call me anything. I'm sorry, baby. Yeah, my jokes are pretty good. Most astrologers are fucking boring. I have all the stuff in my 5th house, which is usually humor. Is Amanda Lee still here? Otherwise, I'll go to Stephanie Caldwell. I'm sorry I missed you, Amanda Lee. I will go to Stephanie. I will go to Stephanie until Amanda Lee shows back up. And I apologize. Oh, no, Amanda Lee's here. Okay. So we're doing Amanda Lee and then Stephanie Caldwell. Stephanie. Step on me, Stephanie. Step on my face. Sorry. I'm such a slut. I'm such a slut. Amanda Lee. And I'm sorry for accidentally skipping you. Where the fuck is... Oh, here we go. You gotta tell me what year you were born, though, because I don't think you were born in 2024. Rochester, New York. 5:52 a.m. Rochester. But what year? Because I don't think it was 2024. Amanda Lee, what year were you born, sweetheart? I need to know. Because you were not born in 2024. I'm pretty well convinced of that. Because I don't think you'd be saying anything beyond... What little newborn babies. Oh, your new baby. Oh, that... Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. 2024. Okay. So you just had your baby. That's what it was. I'm sorry, I can't remember everyone's situation. Well, look at this. Gonna be a very confident young person. Very confident young person. With Sun in the first house conjunct their Leo rising. And Venus in the first house in Leo. These are very important people. Oh, and look at this. Mercury exalted and in rulership in the second house. So I see a lot of confidence, some attractiveness, and then I see why would you say congratulations, Bexy? What bullshit did I just say? I can't even remember what I said. What did I say? Congratulations. Oh, about the baby. Yes. Congratulations, Amanda Lee. Congratulations. And congratulations on the chart. Now, I would be like, holy shit, this moon in the 12th house is really difficult, but it's also the moon in Cancer, you see? So I wonder if you've had any issues with mental health or substance stuff, because that could mean you, the mom, right? But it's a very happy moon. Now, your child could have, some sort of neurodivergence or something, perhaps, possibly. Doesn't have to be that. Could more just represent you. But that is something that we see. Pluto on the descendant. Yeah. Within what? 5 degrees? For me, more I'm thinking Pluto in aspect to the ascendant, right? All the descendant is the axis, It's the horizon, the ascendant, descendant axis. It's the horizon in your chart. Any aspects that Pluto makes to the ascendant oftentimes signal an infatuation with power as we get older. And sometimes it leads to kink, right? We call it the dominatrix type placement. I have Pluto square my ascendant. And I can be very... Teach your child to be me first. You don't need to teach this child to be me first. Sherry, this child's already me first. This child is already me first. Like this whole fucking first house deal. Anyone who has Saturn conjunct the ascendant feels quite important and will probably put themselves first. Now, the money situation looks really good for this child as well. Although they grew up with the sense of loss, right? And they might be very concerned about loss. Kid was born to make a mark and be powerful strugglers in career. Well, why do you say career specifically? Why do you say career? For career, I would look at Venus and Venus in the first house. So a lot of auspicious stuff for recognition, Now Venus isn't like in the sign she rules. What's her in Aries? What's her triplicity? No. What's her bound in Aries? Oh. It's Mars. It's Mars. But either way. North Node in Chiron. In the 9th house? What's that have to do with career? No, I would say that this child's life as they get older will be more and more, as they approach their late 30s. This child will be far more concerned with the meaning of life, you see? With the meaning of life. All this sort of stuff. Now watch out for the Mars approaching a conjunction with Jupiter in the 11th house, because they can be popular. They could probably be quite popular, although Jupiter's not happy. So you see, 8th house, Saturn rules, 6th and 7th. See, they're going to be attracted to bad boys or girls too. They're going to be attracted to bad boys or girls. You see, attracted to the bad boys or girls. But this is someone who sells themselves. We see salespeople with the 10th house ruler in the first house. Like Billy Mays. Billy Mays here for Mighty Mendon. You know, these are the kind of people who know how to sell themselves. In relationship, this child will be a little possessive, right? A little possessive, probably. Now, Saturn rules the seventh house and is in the eighth. That's why I said the bad boys and girls, you know? That's why I said the bad boys and girls. But this child will be very confident, you see? Again, the first house, but also Mars conjunct Jupiter, you see? And this child will know how to argue. They'll probably be good at sports. They'll probably have a lot of energy that they need to get out of their system. So I really recommend sports, you know, team activities, 11th house, right? But death affects this child early on with the Saturn in the 8th house, right? Death affects this child early on. And the life motif is once again about learning to let go. But I see good stuff for money. I see good stuff for career. I see maybe some difficult relationship stuff, but it gets better as they get older, right? This is a very intense young person, as I think Sherry pointed out, that they have Pluto opposite their ascendant, right? So this child learns through crises, unfortunately. But spirituality takes a big part of their life as they get older, you know? We named him Julian Augustus, right? So after 2 of the Caesars and 2 of the months, right? But see, I really do think this is a powerful chart for this child, you know? I think it's a very powerful chart for this child. Lucky them, right? Lucky them. Anyway, we'll move on in just a second. But it's a very good chart, you know? Everyone's got a good chart, but I mean, everyone has the right chart for them. How about that shit? How about that shit? Is Saturn aspect? I mean, Saturn squared Jupiter, I guess. I don't think that's too much of a big issue. We're not worried about this child having children, you know? Let's get to Stephanie Caldwell. But lovely, yeah. Lovely. Oh, excuse me. Lovely. Anyway, let's move on to Stephanie Caldwell. Stephanie. Step on me, Stephanie. Step on me, Stephanie. Sorry, where's Stephanie Caldwell? Sherry, Sherry baby. Where's Stephanie Caldwell's stuff? I'm looking for your birth info. I'm looking for your birth information. I know it was here. I know it was here. Stephanie Caldwell. Where was it? Where was it? Here we go. 128.89. And 6:58 a.m. Gainesville. Gainesville. Oh, let me just let Bexy know I'm going to have the door open. Okay. I will have the door and garage door open. Okay. Okay. So Stephanie Caldwell. Gainesville. Okay, let's see. Oh, Aquarius rising like me. Aquarius rising. Is all your shit right? Went into labor last day of July, had him the first day of August. Wasn't planning on going with the name the way it did. Let me open the door for Bexy, just so she can come in. Okay. Now she can come in. Now she can come in. Stephanie Caldwell. I have January 28th, 1989, 6:58 a.m. Gainesville, Florida. And I have your rising at 0 degrees Aquarius. Mine is 1 degree Aquarius. You see? So we'd probably get along. We probably would. And you have Mercury in Aquarius too. And exactly conjunct your ascendant. So you also are a very intelligent person, aren't you? And as we said earlier, it's about seeing how things fit together, how systems work, how parts of a system interact, right? Which is why we often see people in IT, or as I said earlier, project managers, long-range planners, stuff like that. You know, Sun is also in the first house, which indicates to me that you do have a certain amount of confidence or do feel like a important person in many respects. But then you have this other weird thing where the Sun rules your 7th house and is in your first, which tells me you're probably attracted to narcissistic type partners. You know, you want confident partners, right? You want partners who feel confident, who, you know, seem like they have themselves together or whatever. But these same kind of people who are very sort of confident can be also self-absorbed, right? And sometimes your happiness comes last, you know? So you just have to be careful of that. Excuse me. Moon in the 9th house, though, in Libra, I have the same thing. You know, our moons are conjunct. And this usually gives a very spiritual little kid. You know, a kid who's asking the big questions in life. You know, if you were part of a religious family, they probably were getting annoyed at how you used to be like, well, how is God? How do you know God's a thing? Or where did this all come from? How are we here? These are kids who ask the big questions. Excuse me. And the other thing is when we feel uncomfortable or scared or whatever, we retreat into spirituality or philosophy, you know, or in studying or knowledge. That's often a thing. But us Libra moon people, we really want to be liked, don't we? You know, we're sort of similar to water moons in that we have a natural sort of empathy or sense of other people's moods, but it's not in a watery way. It's in an airy way. We sort of feel that people are agitated and it makes us nervous. So we start trying to do stuff, right, to alleviate that. That's called people pleasing. And all it does is piss people off, and they never appreciate it anyway, you know? Having Pluto conjunct your midheaven is quite interesting. Often it indicates big changes in career life or big changes in life direction, oftentimes that come out from crises, rejection, right? That sort of stuff. And then look all this stuff in your 8th house. I mean, your 12th house, sorry. Right? Which Venus rules your 4th house of dad. So dad could have been an alcoholic. Dad could have been totally out of the picture. You never met him. Dad could have had neurodivergence or mental health issues. Been working on breaking that people-pleasing habit. Gemini rising says, I can't relate. I don't know what you're referring to. I don't know what you're referring to. Can't relate. So anyway, Mars in the 4th house too indicates conflicts with dad, you know? That's conflicts with dad oftentimes. So you see, I see these signatures here of daddy issues. Daddy issues, yes? Am I wrong? Am I wrong about daddy issues? Am I wrong there? Your 1st house ruler is Saturn. You're a Saturn girl like me. And where is Saturn? In the 12th house. Right? So that means you also have to look out for your own mental health issues. And it's probably not a good idea for you to get involved with drugs or alcohol. I also say that because Venus is trine Jupiter, which is lovely. in one way. I mean, you're probably very sweet. You're probably very inclusive. You probably don't have too many mean bones in your body, you know? You probably should have more, to stand up to people. But Venus trine Jupiter can also be very self-indulgent. Like, I can have another drink. I can have another this. I can have another that, right? And you got to be careful of those sorts of things because the 12th house is self-destructive behavior. And now Saturn loves being in Capricorn, but also being in the 12th house is very isolating, right? We could be loners growing up. We could feel very left out. Sometimes we feel bullied. But I think you probably also have a big attachment to your ancestors, right? Or your culture of origin. See, when you say no, I don't know what you're talking about. All I see is no after I've said like a billion things. So I have no clue what no you're referring to is. And again, people say, "Oh, are you psychic?" No, I'm not fucking psychic. I'm as psychic as a rock. I'm a reader. I read astrology. Astrology is a symbolic language, and I'm reading the signs here. You see? No, don't be sorry. Just tell me what you're referring to. Don't take anything I say for granted. I'm wrong all the fucking time as much as I say I'm not. So, you tell me like, hey, that's not ringing true with me. And you have Venus also square your moon. Venus also square your moon. Like the last person and like me. It makes us very paranoid in relationships or have abandonment issues. We always think someone's going to find someone better than us, right? It's just hard to relax with our partners because we're so used to, having these same situations happen over and over again where people take advantage of us or treat us like crap, So, now timing stuff. You've got Saturn going through your second house like I do. We're learning to reorganize our finances, unfortunately. If you have a small business, you probably have been keeping track of stuff very well. Or maybe you haven't been keeping track of your expenses or your resources in general. And what Saturn forces us to do here is to start organizing that shit. Usually through loss, right? We lose money or something happens. We're like, oh, fuck. Okay, I got to start budgeting myself. That's what happened to me, right? I'm running a business. I just start keeping track of all my expenses better, right? Because my accountants were about to kill me. I mean, not literally, but you know what I'm saying. I'm also at work. I never catch you otherwise. Been 100% accurate. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm also a rotten bitch, so just be aware of that. I'm a rotten bitch. But Jupiter in the 4th house is lovely, right? It gives us an attachment to our country of origin or our family history or our ancestors or even history in general, Mars rules your 3rd house and your 10th house. Do you work from home? 10th house ruler in the 4th? Oftentimes that's that. Oh, Saturn we talked about. Where's Gemini? Your 5th house. See, this is wonderful. So right now your kids might be a pain in the ass, right? And I have Mars going through my 5th house right now too. And my daughter has just been, really hormonal. She's a preteen. And she's been getting like, if I tell her to pick up her trash or whatever, she's like, I'm doing it. She yells back at me or whatever, So that, your kids might be a bit of a pain in the ass or they might be fighting you or, conflicting with you. But it doesn't have to be a big bad thing. It'll be over by September. I'll be gone till September. I'll be gone till September, right? Who is that? Was that Wyclef Jean? Wyclef, right? Wasn't he from the Fugees? The Fugees? But see, you have Jupiter going through your 5th house too, which is great for developing relationships with our children, with luck with our children. Children get luck, but also, hopefully, we get more sex, because the 5th house is also sex. Hopefully, I mean, Bexy is wonderful. We're also both polyamorous. And so, we both still date and stuff like that. So that's a wonderful thing. Jupiter going through the 5th house is also great for fun, learning to have fun again and to enjoy ourselves. So please learn to enjoy this period. Stephanie says, I like researching my ancestry. Oh, you've been a stay-at-home mom. And Gemini Rising says you're an amazing astrologer. Well, thank you. Who was after Stephanie? Who's after Stephanie? Stephanie. 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 Who was after Stephanie? Excuse me. Who was after Stephanie? Sherry, Sherry baby. I can't help it. Every time I see Sherry, I'm like, Sherry. I can't do that. They do it all falsetto. Sherry, Sherry baby. I can't do that. I can't do that. Who is next? We did Melanie. We did Stephanie. Step on me, Stephanie. Sherry, Sherry baby. Who else? Who else? Who else? Gemini Rising. I'm gonna get you then. Gemini Rising. Cincinnati. Sherry. Please subscribe to my channel and like the fucking stream if you haven't already. And please consider becoming a member. We're having members only streams where we do astrology lessons. We can look at celebrity charts to get a better idea of all this shit. Sherry. What was I singing when I first came on? It was, don't you forget about me. Right? I have so many Gen Xers on here. I hope you all aren't mad at me for making fun of Gen X. Many of my son's friends have transitioned. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's amazing. I wish I'd done it earlier, but it all happens when it happens. It all happens when it happens. Every time I see Ohio, I always think of the Mothman prophecies. Great tragedy on the river Ohio. Right? That was a great movie. And one of my clients the other day is from Ohio, and she told me there's a whole Mothman festival. Anyway, you have Saturn conjunct your ascendant too. My first thought when I see that is people who look for our value through other people, right? Which can be codependence. It can be a signal of codependence. And once again, you have your 7th house ruler, which is Jupiter in the 8th house, the bad boys and girls. And Jupiter is what? In fall in Capricorn, right? And that's a very difficult thing. That's a very difficult thing because it can be partners who aren't very nice, right? It could be partners with like their own overwhelming trauma. Like either you're interested in fixer-uppers or in dangerous people or people who do not have their shit together. I know them too from when they were growing up. From who? I don't know. See, I never know what people are talking about because my mouth moves so quickly, and then I've moved on to another subject, and then someone is responding to something else. Because there's a delay here. There's a delay. And so I never really know. Now look at this. The fifth house is stacked. Mars, Pluto, the Sun, Mercury, and my anus. You know. Anyway, I have the Sun and Mars conjunct in the fifth house, but Pluto being there too is an added thing. So you see, on the one hand, I think of someone who's very sexual. It may be a person who had a C-section. Kids from very conservative, ultra-orthodox. Yeah, transitioning in Texas is very difficult. Texas is a very hostile state to us. So anyway, I think of someone who's very sexual, but also someone who loves practical jokes, who loves comedy, who might be very expressive, who might be a little outgoing, might be a little passive aggressive with that, not happy Mars, that detrimental Mars. You can call it afflicted if you want. But I love the money situation. Now, I don't know how this looks for you, but to me, I see the moon very happy in the second house like this, and I think of I think of people who are good with saving or who just get naturally lucky. Things may come to you, or you really, material security would be important, perhaps. You also have a Leo Venus. Leo Venus can be very possessive, right? And you've been having your Venus return, which usually means having a silver tongue, or reconciling with a sister or a family member, or getting a visit or a message from a sister or a family member. In fact, Mercury's going retrograde back into your third house. So you could be contacted here by a sister, family member, whoever that you haven't spoken with in a while. When I see Mars conjunct Pluto, I think of someone who knows how to get what they want. Someone who gets laser focused on things, who might even take what they want, right? But this is also someone who learns through being shattered periodically through life. We learn through crises. People call Pluto transformation, but what the fuck is transformation? We transform through what? Heat and pressure. Heat and pressure. So you learn through crises. You see? Mercury in Libra, can be very equivocating. It can see all sides of an issue. And that's why it has a tough time making a decision or making a call. Because it can understand things from other people's point of view. I talked about that. Saturn is going through your 10th house. Saturn is going through your 10th house. And what this oftentimes means is you feel like, don't worry, Bexy's going to be late. Don't worry, I have to pee after this. Okay. Anyway, that probably was too much information. I have to pee after this. She's probably like, oh, good. See, Moon is square Uranus. And it's kind of a, 2 and 4 is 6. It's sort of a wide square, but it's still quite interesting because these are the kind of people whose emotions are all over the place, who can be a bit volatile, but who also are delightfully bizarre. Once again, this is an indicator of people who were children and they couldn't fit in. Now, notice you're a Libra sun. All you probably wanted to do was fit in and be accepted. And you're very sensitive, right? Now, Venus rules your 5th house and is in the 3rd house in Leo. So you may have a very confident child. You may have a very confident child, or one who's very adept at communication or speaking or whatever. What was I? Oh, the moon square Uranus, right? And that goes along with Chiron in the 11th house. Chiron in the 11th house are children who were bullied, right? Bullied or made to feel strange or left out, right? You got screws in your neck, Dick? In your neck, Dick. I can't see the other thing because it's behind the heart. Nectic. Well, see, Saturn conjunct the ascendant. I have Saturn square my ascendant, and that brings chronic health issues too. You know? That brings chronic health issues too. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah. Being bullied as a kid because you seemed a little strange. But as you get older, that strangeness is, it's part of your makeup. And then you sort of celebrate your weirdness as you get older. You see? Excuse me. And then you probably have just a close-knit circle of friends. I bet you mistrust groups of people or crowds. Maybe crowds make you uncomfortable. Cervix 3, 4, 5. I got screws in my neck, dick, and bone issues. Yeah, I mean, I have arthritic discs in my neck, C4 and C5, and I'm in constant pain. Ugh, I'm in physical therapy too. So, well, it doesn't surprise me you have chronic health issues with Saturn conjunct the ascendant. But see, now you have Jupiter going through your ascendant. Your brothers bully you. Fuck them. Screw them. Jupiter's going through your first house for a while, and this is really auspicious. It's good for getting your health back together. It's good for confidence. It's good for your own mind, you see? This is where we get mind expansions. Yes? We start thinking in new ways. We start exploring new ways of thinking. Sometimes we gain weight, unfortunately, but that comes because we're feeling happy and exuberant, But Mars is going through your first house right now too, which, can make us assertive and confident. You had surgery, almost took you out. See, I wonder when you had surgery, because Mars going through your first or sixth house. Usually first house can signify surgery too. So thyroid issues, the endocrine system. The endocrine system. What was that? Is that Virgo? Endocrine system. I have to look that up again. I don't know. They're saying Libra rules the endocrine system. I don't know how that... Because you'd think it would be a Mercury-ruled sign, Did you see the eclipse back in the spring? I mean, kind of. I got those glasses, but I was still kind of nervous about it. The most amazing thing you saw in your life. Yeah, it was pretty amazing, My daughter and I had the glasses, And we kind of looked at it, but we tried not to look too much. Oh, Jupiter square Mars. Yes. A little pompous, are we? A little pompous. I know it's right. Listen to me. I know. Right? I have Jupiter opposite Mars. We can be very fanatical about what we believe. We can be fanatical about what we believe. So Mars going through the first house, that can be difficult because surgery, as I said, but we often hurt ourselves from rushing around. We might be really assertive and start shit with people, so watch out for that. After September 4th, Mars is going into your second house. And you're going to want to watch spending money because you're going to have a tendency to want to spend. It could be because you have a big expense, but it also could be that you're just I want to do retail therapy, Venus is going to be going through your fourth house. So if your parents are still alive, that could be good for reconciling. If not, it could be about enjoying your own company and your private life. Decorating your home space to make it feel beautiful, like you feel inside. Finding a good book, laying on the couch with a throw blanket and the air conditioning on because it's fucking hot. Very unusual type of mind, thinking outside of the box, you see. People might seek you out for clever solutions because you tend to see things that other people don't see. Simple equation there. We talked about after September 4th. Mercury's going back into your third house, which is why I said communication from siblings, perhaps, or other family members. Saturn going through your 10th house. I didn't finish that thought. Right? It makes us change life directions. We get very disappointed when things don't work out. You might not get the job you wanted, right? But it brings up new opportunities later because Saturn is forcing you in a new direction. Like when train tracks, they go like that. The train tracks move to put you on a new track. That's what Saturn's doing, putting you on a new track. It's just not always comfortable, you see? So anyway, but I think that's pretty good. We've gone 15 minutes over. And so I'm going to leave it there. I love you all very much. Thank you for coming. I'm sorry for being a bitch. It's just me. I blame ADHD. I blame my autism or whatever. And my mental health issues. It's not an excuse, but I'm going to roll with that. But please like the stream, subscribe to my channel, consider memberships. I really, really, really appreciate your tips and donations. Helps me keep this shit going. I'm a single parent, Path of totality. Yeah, that's incredible. That's amazing. Anyway, please, and share my shit too. Like, show your friends, because I'm better than a lot of other astrologers. But I lose followers all the time because I have an abrasive personality. So, please help me out. Please, 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 please. And just let people know ahead of time I'm a fucking rotten cunt. So, I'm not a very nice person. But I'm very sincere. So, I love you all. Have a wonderful